Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to tackle a really critical question for any developer out there. Once you've built this amazing API, where does it actually live? Let's dive into the world of API hosting. All right, let's really get into this. This is the question, right? It's what every single developer, every team faces the second that last line of code is written. Because, where your API lives, the hosting model you end up choosing, it has a huge impact on its performance, how it scales when you get a ton of users, and yeah, how much it's going to cost you at the end of the month. So at its core, you can pretty much think of the entire world of API hosting as a spectrum, just a long line. On one end, you've got absolute down to the nuts and bolts control over everything. And on the complete opposite end, ultimate convenience. You just focus on your code, and that's it. Everything else we're going to talk about today falls somewhere between those 2 points. Okay, so let's start at one end of that spectrum. We're talking about the side where you are in complete command of your own digital destiny. Yeah, think of this like building your own custom house from the ground up. And this could be on your own physical servers in a closet, what we call on-prem, or it could be using the raw virtual hardware from a cloud provider. The point is, you choose every single material, every layout detail. But you're also the plumber when a pipe bursts, you're the electrician, and you're the security guard. You are responsible for absolutely everything. And this right here just perfectly captures that core trade-off, doesn't it? On the one hand, pros, you get total control. You can build a super custom, really predictable environment. But the cons, well, the downside is massive. We're talking about a huge amount of operational overhead. You're the one staying up late to manually scale servers when traffic spikes. You're the one who has to drop everything to apply a critical security patch. That's all on you. I'm sure you recognize these names. These are the big players. They provide the raw compute power, literally the foundational building blocks of the modern cloud that gives you that super fine-grained control we've been talking about. All right, let's move along that spectrum now and find the middle ground. This is the sweet spot where you start to trade just a little bit of that granular control for a big boost in convenience and efficiency. So if VMs were like building a house from scratch, containers, well, they're like renting a really nice furnished apartment. The building structure, the plumbing, the electricity, it's all there and it's managed for you. You just bring your stuff, in this case, your application, your code, your decorations, and it just works consistently every single time. The magic word here is portability. Your containerized API can run on your laptop, then on AWS, then on Google Cloud, all without any changes. And that is incredibly powerful, especially for those complex apps made up of lots of little microservices. But, and this is a big but, this power comes with its own kind of complexity. You have to learn how to manage all those containers, which usually means diving into orchestration tools like Kubernetes. And let me tell you, that's a whole world in itself. And this workflow just perfectly captures the magic of the next step up in convenience, platform as a service, or PaaS. Look how simple this is. The whole deployment process is boiled down to its absolute essence. You write your code, you type git push, and the platform takes over and handles everything else. It's beautiful. This is exactly why platforms like Heroku and Render, and also the managed Kubernetes services from the big cloud providers, are so incredibly popular right now. They just hit that perfect sweet spot. You still have a good amount of control over your app's environment, but you get to offload all the tedious, boring parts of managing the infrastructure. Okay, now we've arrived at the complete other end of our spectrum. Welcome to the world of maximum convenience. Here, your one and only job is to write the code that actually delivers value to your users. That's it. This is what I like to call the hotel model of hosting. You don't build a house, you don't rent an apartment, you just book a room for exactly as long as you need it. You show up, you use the room, and you leave. The cleaning, the maintenance, the security, it is all completely handled for you. And the best part? You only pay for the time you're actually using the room. Yeah, that pay-per-use model is an absolute game changer, especially if your traffic is all over the place. It scales from 0 to 1,000,000 users automatically, and you manage literally 0 servers. So what are the trade-offs? Well, you might face what's called cold start latency, a little delay if a function hasn't been used in a while. And you do risk vendor lock-in, which basically means it can be a real pain to move your code to a different cloud provider down the road. These services here, and this includes the whole backend as a service or BaaS category with platforms like Firebase and Supabase, they have absolutely revolutionized development. They hide or abstract away almost all of the messy infrastructure, which lets you build and ship incredibly powerful, scalable APIs faster than you ever thought possible. Okay, so we've journeyed across the entire spectrum, right? From total hands-on control to almost total convenience. Now, with all these amazing options on the table, how in the world do you choose the right home for your API? Well, first off, it's really important to remember that these models aren't always mutually exclusive. In fact, modern development is all about using a toolbox approach. For example, you can stick an API gateway in front of your API. Think of it like a smart, secure front door to handle security and manage traffic. Or you could use edge hosting to run your code in data centers all over the world, which makes your API lightning fast for all your users no matter where they are. This table just lays out the core trade-offs so perfectly. You can really see the pattern here, can't you? As you move from right to left, from virtual machines over to serverless, the amount of maintenance you have to do plummets, but so does your level of direct control. So if automatic scaling is the most important thing in the world to you, serverless is your champion. But if you absolutely need maximum control, a VM is still going to be your best bet. It really depends on what your project values most. At the end of the day, your decision is probably going to come down to finding the perfect balance between these three critical factors for your specific situation. How much does it cost? How does it scale? And how much control do you get? That's the triangle you have to solve. And of course, you'll find a full menu of all these options, from the raw VMs all the way to serverless functions from the big three cloud providers. They're the dominant players for a reason, offering this huge, comprehensive ecosystem of tools to work with. But hey, don't overlook the specialized platforms. Companies like Vercel, Netlify, and Cloudflare are doing some incredible, innovative stuff with developer-focused workflows, especially around edge and serverless. And then you have others like DigitalOcean that are just loved for their simplicity and super clear pricing. Lots of great options out there. So what's the final verdict? What's the takeaway? It's this. There is no single best way to host an API. It just doesn't exist. The only thing that matters is finding the best answer for your team, your budget, and your users. And that brings us right back to where we started, doesn't it? It all comes back to that one single central theme. How much control do you want, and how much management are you willing to do yourself? So this right here, this is the key takeaway from our entire explainer today. Before you write a single line of a deployment script, before you choose a provider, ask yourself and your team this one question. Because answering it honestly, well, that's the first and most important step to finding the perfect home where your API can really thrive.